UFC on ESPN 5 goes down this weekend in London. That's in England, Rob. Till Masvidal is your main event. It, as we've spoke about, is probably the best card put together in Europe. Anyway, for a long time. Our main event sees Darren Till, as I said, taking on Jorge Masvidal. Robert, I will throw it to you. The general consensus here is that Darren Till is going to be just too big for Jorge Masvidal.
I do agree with that. I mean, he's definitely going to be the bigger guy because you have Masvidal, who is like, you know, that tweener between lightweight and welterweight. Like he's almost in the middle.
He's the perfect example of a 165.
Exactly. And then you have Darren Till, on the other hand, is further up. He's in between middleweight and welterweight, it seems. It did seem like his last weight cut was a lot better. So I'm not sure if he changed things around. Maybe he was doing something wrong. I don't know, but hopefully that's not something that we're going to be talking about on Friday night. But the size will definitely be a factor, I think. But I don't think it's going to be a huge factor just because I don't think Jorge Masvidal has ever really had trouble with guys who are bigger than him. I don't think that's ever his problem. Like, I mean, guys have wrestled him who was bigger. Darren Till's not going to wrestle him. So it's going to be like the power and just the physicality, I guess. But then Jorge Masvidal doesn't really get involved in them type of fights where that gets involved, and neither does Darren Till, really. Like, Darren Till will come forward and hit you hard, but he's not going to lean against you. He's not going to wear you down in that way. And Masvidal is a quick guy as well, so, you know, there could be the opposite effect. Masvidal could have some, you know, be a bit more quicker because he's a smaller guy. So I do think size will be a factor, but I don't think it's going to be huge.
Are you surprised if I tell you that their reach is the same? 74, 74?
No, because I watched Dan Hardy's.
I was just going to say the same.
Yeah, and he mentioned it, yeah.
Edit that. That sounds like a stupid question now. Yeah, but like, Till, I was trying to catch it. Till just looks the bigger man.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Much bigger, and bigger by thickness as well.
Yeah.
I loved their breakdown with each other when it was Dan Hardy, and they're in the sort of
face-to-face.
Yeah, the face-to-face, and they were very respectful, but at the same time being respectful. Both of them saying, "I'm going to batter you," which was excellent. Like,
lovely analysis. I love that.
Like,
I'm gonna batter you.
I'm going to batter you. Like when you look at this one, Till just being in there with Woodley, I'm struggling to see. I was saying to you this morning, you know what, Masvidal, he's going to be hard to put away. Till is predicting he's not going to be happy if it gets outside of the first. So what happens if it does get outside of the first? Is that going to play on Darren Till's mind?
I don't think it will, because like Till has plenty of finishes, but he's not like, again, we don't like to compare everyone to Conor McGregor, but I mean, when Conor was coming up and he was winning in first rounds and he was calling his rounds, that was actually happening really early, whereas Till has never really been that guy. That's why it kind of surprised me when he said, you know, if it goes out of one round, I'm going to be disappointed. He's never really been that guy. Like when he was fighting Stephen Thompson, he told us, like, you know, it's going to be a tough fight. You know, I think I'm the better striker, but there was never like this huge confidence of 100% I'm going to be upset if it gets out of this round. He did call for like a second round or third round finish, but he's never been the guy to say, first round and I'll be disappointed if so. So I don't think that's going to play in his mind. I just think I don't know why he's saying it. It's a bit of a weird.
Looking back at, let's say, Masvidal, he's obviously on 2-fight skid at the minute, but looking at his wins, ignore the losses for a moment. Cerrone, Ellenberger and Ross Pearson. Yeah. It's just a different level, Darren Till, isn't it? Like Ellenberger, no disrespect, but when he fought him, he was on the decline. Ross Pearson, you could argue like it was 3 years ago. Ross Pearson, and Donald Cowboy Cerrone, a mutual opponent that they've both shared MMA match. We all love it.
That was one where Cowboy had fought a couple of weeks before. Wasn't that Denver card where he came on? It was just because it was his hometown card. He fought a couple of weeks previously. And probably shouldn't have taken it.
So comparison is my point there. Darren Till, when you look at his recent opponents, the win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the win over Donald Cowboy Cerrone, but the loss then against Woodley. So,
but that's the thing though, isn't it? When you actually look at the career, those are the only real, those three are the real three big opponents. Aside from that, his best opponent was probably Nicholas Dalby. And that was a draw. So if you're actually looking at resumes and who they've fought, I think Masvidal has been, like, on the whole, like, he hasn't been in there with the best guy, because I think the best guy that any of these guys has fought is Tyron Woodley. Yeah. And obviously Darren Till lost. But I mean, if you take all the guys they've fought, I think on the whole, Masvidal has fought the better guys in total. But he's also lost to many of those better guys. And that's the thing about Masvidal that I find, is that he'll be competitive against pretty much anybody. Like the Damian Maia fight was a close split decision. I thought Damian Maia did a good job winning that one. I thought the Stephen Thompson fight, it was pretty clear to me. But again, he was competitive in that fight. And Lorenz Larkin, Benson Henderson, 2 split decisions. So he's always, and Aloy Quinta, split decision. He's always been really competitive with really good guys. So I think he almost fights to his opponent's skills. He fights up or fights down.
What do you think of the idea, and again, it's coming in the first round mentality if he gets out of first round? Do you think that perhaps Darren Till has a little bit of pressure that everyone is saying, you know, he's hype, the hype is gone because he Woodley popped that hype, or do you think there's pressure and for him to get that finish, and perhaps with that prediction, is it cockiness, or could he potentially be underestimating Jorge Masvidal?
I don't get the sense he's underestimating him, although that comment still is a bit strange to me because he's never really been that guy.
Yeah.
But there's definitely pressure on him. I think after that loss, a lot of people almost forgot about him in a way. And that's probably because a lot of people, for some reason, never rated Tyron Woodley, and I don't know why it was. So, yeah, there's definitely pressure on him, but I do think he can handle it because he handled a lot of pressure going into that Liverpool card and getting that kind of really quick title fight in a way against Tyron Woodley. So yeah, there's definitely pressure, but I don't think it's too much.
Let's get into the bones with who's going to win. How are they going to
win? I'm leaning towards Darren Till, but to be honest, I'm not hugely confident in it. I know a lot of people who are talking about this fight are really heavily favouring Till, and I see why in a sense, but I just think Masvidal is a really tough guy to fight. Yeah. He's really, really crafty. He's a veteran. He's hard to finish. Yeah, he's hard to finish. But I don't think it's going to be a finish for Till. I think it's going to be a decision. I think it's going to look similar, but not the same as the Wonderboy fight, as in the Masvidal Wonderboy fight, where Till's good at finding his range and landing one shot. He's not a huge combo guy. He lands, one big shot. And Masvidal had trouble against Wonderboy. Again, different styles, but I think Till can do similar things. He had trouble against Wonderboy closing the distance and landing big shots. Wonderboy was just countering him all the time. I think it's going to look similar to that one. And I'll pick Till. But to be honest, I'm not hugely confident in this one.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I was watching back Jorge Masvidal fights, and like
it's crafty.
Yeah, but the way he mixes it up in his craftiness, and it's just his boxing on the inside is phenomenal as well. He loves like a left hook to finish as well, and he's dropped a lot with that. But then he'll throw the flying knee in there to keep you guessing as well.
Cowboy.
And he's spinning shit too. Yeah. Like Masvidal, I just think I do believe Darren Till is a middleweight fighting a welter, and I do believe that Masvidal is a lightweight fighting at welter, and I just think there's that difference. I think he could be just naturally stronger than him.
Yeah, I also found that Masvidal does really well when he mixes up and goes for takedowns. So if he does do that and does that early, that could be interesting.
I think Till is good takedown defense.
No, he does, but I mean, I don't even mean if Masvidal gets the takedowns. I mean, if he looks for takedowns and then strikes off the break, stuff like that, he does really, really well. And that's when he was having success against Thompson.
I agree with you in how to fight. I don't think it's going to finish in the first round. I think Masvidal is just too tough to get out of there. I think Till needs to manage his fight engine and realise, and that's my one big concern here, is Till's mindset if we see the end of the first 5 minutes.
Nick as well.
Serious. But my concern is if Jorge Masvidal, and I expect Jorge Masvidal to get out of it, I think it could be Till just bigging it up to say, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to finish, because it's a spectacular headline, and I don't think he says things to the hype. I just think like Darren Till believes this, and a little bit of me just to start like, Jesus, Darren, Masvidal's hard to get out of there.
Yeah,
I think that he needs to manage his engine, that he doesn't go for a finish in the first round.
That could be a big problem if he goes for it.
He needs to keep it at range, as in his range, the Muay Thai range, land them single shots, get out of there. I think he could potentially, though, if he starts to land, I think his power will tell, and I think he could badly mark up Jorge Masvidal. I can see it going to decision, and I can actually see Till getting late, but it's only if he manages and doesn't go after it. I'm going to pick Darren Till. But I like you.
See,
I don't think
what
it's a
wash
wash like
is that Masvidal isn't the best game planner. Like, he doesn't go in there with a game plan and you're like,
he talks about it, he just wants to fight.
Yeah, he just wants to fight, and that can be a detriment to him. It can also be great, because if he goes in there against somebody else who does that, generally he looks really good. But he doesn't really game plan. Like, there's a huge difference between him and, say, like a John Jones, who was excellent at game planning and can pick you apart. Whereas Darren Till, He's not a huge game planner, but he can do it. You've seen against Wonderboy, he changed up his style a lot. So I think he could game plan Jorge Masvidal here.
And like I think he can mix it up. Like, as in, you look at Darren. I know the Cowboy finish, but his fight time in the cage is actually pretty long. His average fight time, I'm just looking at there on UFC.com, is 12 minutes and 54 seconds, and Masvidal's 13 minutes. So that's telling you they're two fighters who are used to being in there. So I think if Till, and I would look at that fight time more so on the Masvidal side, as in Till needs to recognise that, because people don't get him out of there. So he needs to be insanely careful of that. But I'm going to go Darren Till.
Thoughts, Sean?
We were saying there, Till's looking great, Nick. I have put a picture of him from during the week on the screen for people to see.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous.
He looks ripped, man. He's shredded.
So which I think is going to lead to an easier weight cut. I don't think we're going to have this.
I think so,
Yeah, I think he's been walking it down gradually and managing it throughout the camp by the looks of it. Just as well, odds-wise, Darren Till 2-5 and Masvidal, there is just over 2-1 going on Masvidal.
Man, a lot of people underrate Masvidal.
Yeah,
I don't think he wins the fight. I think I think Till wins, but man, a lot of people underrate Masvidal.
I think this the.
What's your pick, by the way?
Yeah. Who are you picking?
I'm gonna go Till by late knockout.
Nice. Late knockout.
Your comment, seeing Leon Edwards taking on Gunnar Nelson. This is a fight for me that, like, I don't know what the odds are, Sean. You probably don't tell us till the end.
Nope.
But I think a lot of people are just seeing Leon Edwards walking through. And we were, again, Rob, were talking about this morning, coming in, and I'd said,
it's actually really funny.
I think a lot of people are underestimating Gunny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're forgetting about Gunny. You were like, I think a lot of people are underestimating Leon Edwards. And they're going, oh, okay. But, like, you know, I just think this is a super fight, and I believe that Leon Edwards is going to be the favourite on this, and for that reason I'll be having an absolute punt on Gunnar Nelson. As Danny Henry said, if Gunny can get his hands on him, that submission ratio per win for Gunnar Nelson, he has something like 70% win ratio by submission. Absolutely phenomenal. So I think Leon Edwards to win this, although he'll be happy to engage. I suppose it's his takedown defense is what's going to be big here for Leon Edwards. We've seen Gunnar have wins like knockouts and knocking down the likes of Brendan Touchdown, finishing him. Gunny is good. He has that karate stance. That's good for his distance management. But be sure Gunnar Nelson is looking to take this to the mat and get a tap out here on Leon Edwards.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, what my feeling on this is that you have one guy who was like really dynamic in Gunnar Nelson. In both ways, like, he's a really dynamic striker, as in, if he lands, there's a good chance you're being dropped, because the way he lands with that karate style, it's very high impact. Whereas Leon Edwards on the feet, I almost said Roberts, Leon Edwards on the feet is that guy who will land some good shots, some big shots, and hurt you, but he's not really that guy who's going to drop you with every shot. He's going to manage the distance and look good. Same thing on the floor. If Roberts gets on the floor, he's a good grappler. He's very, very good. But if Gunnar gets on the floor, it's dynamic. He'll probably finish it if he gets it on the floor. So that's the way I see it. I can see either going a decision for Edwards, who will just ride out the 3 rounds and keep the fight standing and just land enough, or Gunnar Nelson finish. I'm going to go with a Gunnar Nelson finish, but this is another one where I feel...
Oh, man, I thought you were saying Leon Edwards.
No, I am. Like, I mean, I think he's very underrated. I think a lot of people are underrating him, and I think he can... Like, this is a real 50-50 one for me. Really, really 50-50. I can easily see it going both ways. The only thing I'd be surprised with would be like Edwards stoppage. That's the only thing I'd be really surprised about. But everything else is on the table for me. But I think Gunnar will get enough takedowns to probably control it enough and maybe get a submission, but probably like a decision based on grappling. I think.
I'm in agreement with that, and like, just to the point of Leon Edwards getting a finish, I think it'd be rare, because it's only ever happened with Ponzinibbio when he absolutely treated Gunnar Nelson like a bowling ball. So for me, like, in that aspect, I don't see Edwards finishing him. Edwards is an absolute grinder. How he mixes it up, his style of fighting is fantastic, and I actually think this is a great fight for him to be opened up to the public, because he's in the UFC a long time. Leon Edwards, and looked great against Cerrone. His clinch work and them elbows.
I think the Cerrone fight, was almost a better performance than Darren Till's one. Darren Till got the finish, but I thought we saw more with
and
Edwards.
that's potentially the matchup here. Leon Edwards, Darren Till. The UFC could be potentially vying for that, but like I think Gunnar Nelson, and I genuinely believe people are overlooking Gunny. As you said, his style of striking is hard to deal with as well.
It's
but
when
he gets it,
was having trouble.
I genuinely like in the UFC. Damian Maia would probably be the only one you'd rank higher than him for grappling. So like I just think Gunny could get it, and I think he'll snake the back and he'll get a rear naked choke.
He had that great return as well, where he sliced up Oliveira.
And
that's crazy.
Yeah, and you look at that, he was in trouble against Alex Oliveira, and he still pulled it out. So that's the thing about Gunnar Nelson. You could be getting the better of him, but he's always in the fight. He's always getting the finish. So I'm picking Gunnar Nelson here as well, and I'm going with a second round submission for Gunny.
What's the odds, Sean?
Rear naked choke.
So Leon is a slight favourite at 4-6.
He will be, yeah.
While Gunny is available at 13-10. Which I'm happy to take.
I think that makes sense. I think that was odds.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a fucking great fight.
It's a great fight,
I'm going Gunny as well by submission.
We're running out of time. You
Friend
could
of
say
the
we
show,
have
Gunny.
no time. But Volkan Oezdemir taking on Dominic Reyes. This is an intriguing fight. You've got the undefeated Dominic Reyes taking on Oezdemir. Oezdemir climbed the ranks high with absolutely like insane finishes of the likes of Jimmy Manaway.
Weird finishes.
Yeah, like just short distance. You alluded to it as like Shane Carwin-esque power. He's got just that short range power. Then he came up against DC, Anthony Smith. That surprised a lot of people that Anthony Smith lost. But then you see Anthony Smith going on and fighting John Jones.
Yeah.
But hands full here in Reyes. But what's your thoughts on this one?
I like Reyes here. I think Reyes is a legitimate prospect in this division. I think he's somebody who could potentially compete for the title in the next year. The only problem with him is that when he gets into exchanges, I feel like he's there to be hit. He has been hit a few times. Yeah, his chin seems really good, but he is there to be hit, and you don't want to get hit by Oezdemir because we've seen what he done strangely in short punches. But Reyes fights really well at range. Again, he's like I said with Gunnar, he's a really dynamic striker. He's really, really good. We haven't seen a whole lot of his grappling, but what we have seen is that if he gets on top, he's dangerous. So there's that. But I just think that the way he throws punches and combinations and the pressure that he puts on, I think it's going to be too much for Oezdemir, who showed that if you put a lot of pressure on him in his last fight with Smith, he could crumble a little bit. And I thought that was, to be honest, the DC one is fine, and losing to Anthony Smith is fine. In theory, it's a fine loss. He's a good fighter, but I just thought his performance there was really underwhelming or something.
I agree. To the point, I'm raging you said it before me, is Oezdemir, when you put the pressure, it's almost like Anthony Smith rode out the storm. And then turned the tides. And like Oezdemir, for me in that fight, I'm not saying that's what he is, but Oezdemir in that fight likes being the hammer. He did not like being the nail.
Like it now.
Nobody does, but there's the mindset that comes through, and the rear naked choke sub by Anthony Smith. But Reyes can do that. But as you said, Reyes has been hit, and I just think Oezdemir, he's got that fucking freaky power.
He does.
It's strange power. But I'm gonna go with Oezdemir in this one just because of that freaky power. He can set it up, be it in short range. If he clinches up against the cage, has you up against the cage, he can do it in a clinch position. It's there. But my concern for this fight is if that plan A doesn't work, there doesn't seem to be plan B.
Yeah, the reason why I'm going to go with Reyes as well is because if you watch the way he moves on his feet, he doesn't really look like a light heavyweight. He looks like a welterweight or a lightweight. And I don't know what height he is, but he's huge. It might have been on the screen.
6'4".
6'4". Yeah, he's a tall dude. And just the way he moves and cuts angles, like that last one. Do you remember the last fight where it was a decision? But basically, he slipped a shot, cut an angle, and then dropped the right hand, or was it left hand? I'm not sure what it was. I think it was a right hand. And basically finished the fight, but the buzzer went at the same time and they gave it a decision. I'm not sure why.
That was crazy.
Yeah, the OSP fight. But yeah.
The big thing here as well is 73% knockout ratio for Oezdemir, 67% knockout rate for Dominic Reyes. It's gone to decision, folks. Gone to decision. 100% gone to decision.
How are we feeling there, Sean?
How's the odds on your pick, Sean?
The odds are Volkan is the second biggest underdog of the night. He's 2-1, while Dominic Reyes is 2-5.
That's an absolute. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, but that's an absolute example of MMA. You're only as good as your last fight. A couple of fights ago,
and the fighter who you're fighting against, their trajectory as well. I think plays
so
into
it's
who's your pick, Sean? Do you have a pick?
Crazy.
I'm gonna go Reyes just because of the range advantage. I think he'll use that, and I think he'll win. Decision.
Nice.
London's calling for Nathaniel Wood taking on Jose Alberto Coenas. Nathaniel Wood, if you watch his fights, he can be a berserker, he can be in trouble and land that. Like that Cage Warriors bout just before he signed with the UFC. Absolutely phenomenal. The prospect, gotta stop calling himself that. I always said that with Alan Philpott as well. The Apprentice is like when you become the actual full-time guy. But he's done very well since moving over to the UFC. Do you see the winning streak continue for Nathaniel Wood?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a good matchup for him. I think Jose and Quinones. Yeah, he's a good fighter, but I just think that Nathaniel Wood's pace and pressure and his ability just to drag people into these crazy dogfights is gonna win it. But I also think as well, in the same hand, is that sometimes Wood gets into these and he gets hit, and he does get woken up by that. I mean, like sometimes he doesn't start, and then when someone cracks him with a big right hand, after he got slapped by Brad Pickett outside, he'll wake up. And that can be a problem. He could get finished, but I don't think this is going to be the one. I think it's going to be a fight like that. It's going to be a fast-paced fight. And I think he's going to get like a submission or something. He might drop him and might get into a grappling exchange and a submission. Yeah, I fancy him like late round 1, early round 2-ish. And
when you look back at Nathaniel Wood's record, it's all finishes. You know what I mean? It's all
he's a big finisher.
He gets in, he gets there, and he's a big fan favourite because of that. And ironically, I actually didn't realise it was his last loss. Mentioned Alan Philpott. Forgot that was his last loss was to Alan Philpott back in Bama 24. But yeah, I can see Nathaniel Wood getting the win here. I just think it's a good matchup for him, and I don't mean that again. They're building Nathaniel Wood as he talks well, he fights excellent, he's the style, he's a fight fan favourite. When you watch him fight, Nathaniel Wood is always in exciting fights. His boxing is absolutely superb, but his fighter's heart and fighter's mind, when he's out and almost done, he comes back and lands the killer shot. If you haven't seen it, you have to go back. That Cage Warriors fight, I have to find the I can't remember exactly who it was against Luka Oyovin. Yeah. Oh wow, what a fight. 50 seconds of absolutely fucking insanity. Yeah. Phenomenal. I wouldn't be surprised, I haven't seen the odds, if this might be the biggest favourite.
Good shout, Rob.
Is it?
Yeah. So
I haven't seen
not necessarily.
I promise.
Not necessarily the biggest favourite. There's a couple of Nathaniel Wood is 2-5. There's a couple of 2-5 shots. But Quinones, is that what we won?
Yeah.
He's the biggest underdog of the night. He's 9-4.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
and rightfully so. When you look at the rankings, I know the rankings are whatever, but I think there's like 30 places in the rankings.
Yeah.
So pretty big. Hot chocolate. Danny Roberts taking on Claudio Silva.
I like Danny Roberts here. I think he's going to win with his boxing. I think he has shown in his previous fights a pretty well-rounded game. I mean, he had that tough fight with Zawada, but Zawada for me is a really, really underrated good fighter. He can kind of do it all. He has some crazy transitions and grappling. But I just think that Danny Roberts here will basically be able to get to a decision with his striking. If it hits the floor, it could be a problem. Of course, that's always going to be there. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. And I think Silva was off for a long, long time. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he fought Leon Roberts, beat Leon Roberts by split decision in 2014 and returned last year. Again, nearly a year ago. So it's another year off. Excellent grappler, but I feel like Roberts would be able to keep it at distance and land enough shots to get a decision. But, that grappling exchange can always be there. And if it gets into that exchange, it could be a problem as well. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think Danny Roberts here, if he keeps it standing, that's where the fight is won for him. Just has to stay out of the danger of Claudio Silva's ground game, essentially. Like that sounds so silly to break it down like that, but you only have to look back, and I think layoff again, as you pointed to, was a big part of it as well.
We looked good in his last one though after 4 years. So
I think Danny Roberts keeps it standing and picks it apart. Probably go to the decision. A lot of defending, a lot of sprawling. He might get taken down, but wrestle himself back up, use that natural brute strength of his and get back to his feet. But yeah, go Danny Roberts myself on that one. Just a matter of interest, Sean, how big are the odds on that one?
Interesting. Again, this is a close fight, which I think is a testament to the quality of the card. I think it's a very good card. So you both picked Danny Roberts. He's 7-5, and Claudio Silva is 4-6.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
So there's a bet for everyone.
Yep.
There we go. The Battle of Wales. We got Jack Marsman taking on John White Mike Tyson Phillips. Rob asked him when he was on the show years ago, Rob, the old show, why do they call you the White Mike Tyson? He says, it's because I knock fucking people out, isn't it?
Yeah. He did.
Yeah, brilliant. So the Battle of Wales, who will come out on the throne, Robert?
This is pretty well matched. It's reflected in the record, 22-8 and 21-8.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I'm gonna go with Jack Marshman. I think Jack Marshman has shown in the UFC so far that he is tough and can stay in there and can, compete quite well against some guys. I just don't think that the white Mike Tyson has shown his skills yet in the UFC. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's the level of competition, but I just feel like he hasn't really shown it, and it's tough to pick him kind of on the streak that he's been on and the performance he's been putting in. So I just think based on strength of recent resume, even though Marshman's on a skid as well, I'm going to go with Marshman just to outlast him.
I'm going to go with the white Mike Tyson.
Nice.
The reason being is like the fights he's lost to Kevin Holland and Charles Byrd, both were rear naked choke losses, so they're taking them. That's the problem about calling yourself the white Mike Tyson, is everyone going,
so he's a
striker. He's going to stand. And Jack Marshman called a hammer. So you presume that he will be looking to maybe get Phillips down and land some ground and pound and get the work done there. But it's interesting that the both Welsh fighters coming up through the ranks in the UK, and they've never squared off before.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So they're two of the best.
They should have.
Yeah. So I'm going Phillips here, and I'm going Phillips with a finish because I just think they're going to stand and trade. And this is the one for me that is going to steal the performance or fight of the night.
Nice.
I just think this is going to be absolute fireworks, and John Phillips will get it done with a big TKO KO first round.
Interesting.
How's the odds?
Another one match fight close in the odds. So Jack Marshman is a slight favourite, 4-7, and then John Phillips available at 6-4.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
yeah.
So let's revert back to your treble of the week. Yeah. So I'm going to throw out the treble of the week for me this time round is going to be Darren Till, it's going to be Gunnar Nelson, and it's going to be Volkan Oezdemir.
Ooh.
So if you were listening last week, my treble came up. We might have to work out the odds there actually on that.
Last week it was 7-1. So
7-1 last week.
Before you get the odds there, just a couple of fights to pick out without going through them, but some good fights. Mark Diakese,
that's a
Joe
great
Duffy
fight.
goes down. That's a really good fight. Tom Breeze, Ian Heinisch, that's a really good fight. And of course, Danny Henry and Dan Ige fight as well. Danny's obviously
that Joe Duffy fight's on very early in the card, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if it's it's not the main event of the prelims, but it's the second from last prelim. For the main card. So yeah, that'll be on early. We have some good fights.
So apparently if you press this button somewhere here, it subscribes and you get all the notifications for the show. So hit that button there.
You have to click the bell though to get the notifications down the bottom.
Make sure you hit it and they get the ringer thing because Rob didn't know. So it's the button there or there.
It's somewhere roughly around that area.